I invite you, please, to stand. If you will remain standing, please. This is a day like no other. We stand at an open door, on the threshold of things that are new and unknown. On this day, we express our sadness, our shared sense of loss, even as we give thanks to Almighty God for the gift of his servant Elizabeth, our Queen. For as long as any of us have had breath, she has guided, nurtured, illumined, counselled, served. May God's peace be with her soul. May God's peace rest with her family. And may God's peace be with each and every one of you. Do please have a seat. The story is told of a kind man. In a crowd, he senses that someone has touched the hem of his tunic, but he cannot see the face of this person, her face, as it turns out. He determines against all the odds to find that person, and as she has reached out to him, so he will reach out to her, which he does. The common denominator in this story is faith, one in another. It is a story of faithful people traveling together, finding their way, even in a crowd. The way of faith. Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, knew this story. And over the years, as she found herself both physically and proverbially at the center of great crowds, I can only wonder how she reinterpreted this story over the 70 decades of her remarkable reign. How many people have reached out to her, and in turn, how many has she touched in heart and soul? She lived in such a manner that it has been observed she shaped a century, helping her people to navigate through times of extraordinary change. There were days of glory, but there were days also riven by fear or personal sadness. Her presence in the crowd, always reassuring. But of course, there were moments of intense solitude too, often on her own in churches or places of worship, and of course, so very often on her own in her beloved Highlands. She was often contemplative, but she was never a recluse. I read recently that great souls in our world move slowly. They never run. In their very measured step, we sense an authority in which we may place our trust. We don't have to catch up. They walk with us at our pace, if needs be, through the crowd or the places of our own solitude and sadness. The story of the man and the woman in the crowd comes, as you will know, from the Christian Gospels. Elizabeth was a person of faith. With a remarkable candor and gentleness, she would talk about her faith in her Christmas broadcasts, You had the sense that she allowed her faith without fuss to inform every aspect of her daily life. Perhaps when those government red boxes landed on her desk, she would open them with a prayer, knowing the reach of her authority and influence. She would know also the line, "Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's." But I believe Elizabeth more likely to have prayed for the gift of wisdom than brute force. Time, of course, lends perspective. And as we now try to chart a course through days of quite unparalleled worry, we might draw comfort in the knowledge that she had, as they say, seen it all. As recently as this week, receiving the resignation of one British Prime Minister and inviting a 15th to take up those reins of office. Her first Prime Minister was Sir Winston Churchill. She has, of course, given wise counsel to many Prime Ministers. But let us not forget that when it came to the world of horse racing, she could give you equally wise counsel on where to place your bets. She loved a winner. And who can forget her star turn at the opening of the London 2012 Olympics with James Bond and her corgi dogs strutting down the carpets of Buckingham Palace? Or her more recent tea party with one Paddington Bear. She was fun. There was a wry wit and a lovely ability to reach through the crowd to touch its very heart. And I sense today her reach is no less. Perhaps for some of us, it is deeper now than it has ever been. We feel our loss. True faith in our Creator leads us not to want to lord it over others, but to seek them out and heal, to serve. True faith in our Creator does not fuel our ambitions to subjugate and manipulate, but rather invites us to ask, who is my brother? Who is my sister? Who is my neighbor? And what can I do for them to help? It is these insights that furnish our understanding of a common wealth. It is these same insights and principles that were the foundation of her reign and service. At the age of 21, she made a promise, and she prayed to God that he would support her in a solemn vow. I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family, to which we all belong. Her life, it turns out, was a long one, and she served us to the very end. We are humbled and we are grateful that she was our Queen. The world has wobbled upon its axis in these last 24 hours. But love will seek us out through the crowd. It will reach out and touch us. And it will help us all and her family to find our way. God's love. May God's love rest with her soul, her family, and with you all. Good night, Mum. Good night. Amen.
I'd like to bring this assembly to a conclusion with a few words of my own, and I'd like to begin with thanks to the chaplain for his. I look out on a community and I think about a nation that has been unsettled by this tragic news. It is a moment of national importance. It is a moment that you will remember for the rest of your life. And it might be that you feel affected by this moment. You feel unsettled, unsure. This is a moment to come together as a community, to turn to each other and to look after each other. We have in Queen Elizabeth II a wonderful example of constancy and duty, a lifetime of service in which she kept her promise to the nation. As we go forward into a time of national mourning, there will be an impact upon school activities and events. Things will change. We will give you more information as we know it. But I want you to know that we will, as a community, give thanks for her life. Because whilst this is a time of sadness and mourning, let us also feel gratitude. Gratitude for a long life, and a long life well lived. I conclude this assembly with these words on behalf of the whole Merchant Taylors community. God save the King. Gentlemen, please rise.